I don't want to go back in jail, and I ain't trying to have you up in there. But me, I don't get no credit for that.
Shut up, Jody.
What's wrong? You can't stand the truth?
I need you to shut up!
God, the truth hurt, don't it? How you think I feel? You up in there laid up with this thug you don't even know who want to kick me out the house so we could be around here doing whatever.
I can take care of myself. I don't need you to be checking the folks I deal with. Am I all up in your business with all the little hookers you run around with? No, I don't think so. So I need the same respect, Jody. You know, you're really starting to get on my last nerve with all this little shit between you and Melvin. I'm tired of it.
What? This my house, too.
Your house? Your house? Do you pay any bills up in this? Do you fix anything around here? When's the last time you paid a bill? All you do is eat, sleep, and walking around here like you King Tut or somebody. You don't mess about whose house this is. This is my house. Mine. And if I want to bring a man all up and through here, I bring a man all up and through here. That's my say, not yours.
You laughing at?
Everyone's talking about mother wounds and how mothers and daughters' relationships are affected, but mother wounds can also happen for sons as well. It's very important for us to address how the mother wounds affect men and their relationships with other women as they grow older. So what are mother wounds? Typically speaking, mother wounds is the loss or lack of mothering while you're growing up. So perhaps your mother was not available for you emotionally. Maybe they had mental health issues. Maybe some mothers were just cut off from you. And as we talked about in other episodes, that also reflects your attachment style. So typically a person with mother wounds has some sort of attachment trauma in the relationship between their mother and themselves. But before we begin, I want to say, hey, Conscious Crew, welcome back to the Conscious Creative Corner, where we are unpacking your trauma to heal your relationships. I am your host, Sia, the Transparent Therapist. If we're looking at Jody from Baby Boy, as we just saw, Jody had some mother wounds. Now, some of you might argue, well, his mother was around, yes, but his mother was around in a way that did not support him or serve him emotionally. She might have been almost overly involved or too involved in his life, where he now feels like he has to take care of his mom, which also creates a wound. Many times with men of color or even culturally, we get into these, or they, I should say, get into these habits where men are responsible for their parents. And as you saw this interaction where Jody and the mom's boyfriend is about to go at it, he's already insinuating, like, I always have to take care of you. You're not making the best decisions. So though Jody's mom provided physical needs, emotionally, she wasn't really meeting him where he needed to be. And I'm willing to bet that happened throughout his childhood. Again, we are looking at these things through a lens of just the film. And if we saw Jody grow up from like a baby all the way until like death, which, I mean, if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But you'll see that these wounds are perpetuated. And when he gets into a relationship with Taraji, it's just it's like repeated. You see how tumultuous the relationship gets. Now, those of us who go through mother wounds, they don't necessarily have to be something that came from like physical violence. Wounds do not have to be one of abuse or even neglectful. It could be a wound caused by someone being less tuned in to the needs of their child. So I want to tell you some signs that you might actually have a mother wound. 1, you might find it difficult to relate to your mother emotionally. I see this happen a lot in a lot of Caribbean cultures. I can't really speak too much on the African American culture versus just from like what I've seen. But I know from personal experience, sometimes it's in Caribbean or Afro-Caribbean cultures, it's hard for people to attach emotionally because emotion is not one that is often given or shown in the household. You know your parents love you because they're providing a roof over your head. That's what you're told. That's how it's gone. That's how it goes on. But in the Caribbean culture, it's more so, I don't need to tell you I love you. Sometimes it's I don't have to show you I love you. I don't have to hug you. Just know that when I'm here, that means I love you. The problem with that is not everybody receives love the same way. Some people actually need that physical touch. Some people actually need those affirmations. And when that's taken away, it creates this wound in a child. That child then grows up and brings that into their relationships. So now you as an adult, you're with your parent, you're with your mother and you're finding it very difficult to really relate to her, to have conversations with her. Maybe you're even arguing all the time because that wound exists. Number two, maybe you found it difficult to gain your mother's approval. No matter what you did, no matter how hard you tried, you feel like you never could live up to your mother's expectations. We see this a lot in high performers. We see this a lot with academic scholars. It's like, I'm always trying, I'm trying. And not to say that you can't keep trying, but these scholars sometimes are doing it not for themselves, but for a parent. Sometimes they're moms, right? And their mothers are just like, nope, that A is not good enough. I need an A plus. Or you should have made 5 shots instead of those 4. And so you're always pushing yourself to do more. It's like, I'm not enough. Even though I did this, I'm not enough. And that's one of the things that you're perpetuating throughout your mind. And it's hard for people and kids as they grow up. And then as for sons as they grow up, it's like, no matter what I'm doing, it's never enough for my mother. And in Jody's case, it's like, I'm doing all these things for you, but you're still having another man come in. And you're not treating me like your son. You're treating me like another man, but now you're putting this other man before me. And that's where the relationship gets very murky, right? Because as a single mom, she's depending on Jody to do whatever she wants or needs, but Jody just can't do all those things. And then when this another man comes in and Jody's like, who is this man? And why you having him over here doing all these things, but when I do these things, I don't get kicked out, but you're kicking me out. There's this confusion. There's this wound that's just being dug deeper and deeper. And then when you are now listening to your mom and you're thinking like you're never enough, you internalize that belief. And so now you get into a relationship with a young woman and you're feeling like, yeah, I'm never going to be enough for her, so I might as well go cheat on her. Or I'm never going to be enough for her, so I'm not even going to really try. Or I'm not going to give her all my energy, because that internalized belief that your mother put on you, you're now internalizing. Or sometimes too, you might internalize a belief your mother has put on herself. And this usually happens with the mother wound when it comes to the daughter. But with sons, it's like your mother could have thought, right, that she was just not good enough herself, and that she projected that onto you. And now you internalize the belief she had about yourself or the belief she had about herself about yourself now. And hopefully this is making sense for you guys, because we don't talk about this enough. We always talk about how, like, if I had a dad in the home, I would be better, or I have daddy issues, I have abandonment issues, which can be true. But truly, the people that you did grow up with, or the people that served you, as in caretaked you or caretook, or, took care of you, essentially, the people that took care of you are some of the people that ingrained some of the beliefs that you have for yourself. And so now you're stuck with these beliefs, and the belief that you're not worthy enough just plays out and perpetuates itself over and over again in your life. The third sign that you might have a mother wound is you protecting your mom, like I spoke about earlier, instead of your mom protecting you. You feeling like you always had to parent your parent instead of your parent parenting you. And this happens a lot with people who are typically mentally ill, or they have some sort of addiction, and we have an older son or older daughter taking care of the household or taking care of that parent, because that parent does not have the energy or does not have the will to take care of themselves. That becomes a wound, because now that person believes that their only purpose is to always serve others and never really serve themselves. The reason why I'm focusing this a lot on men is because, I'm not gonna lie, men of color, especially Black men, or Afro-Caribbean men, or just men of pigment, usually carry the burden. And yes, they're meant to be protectors, and a lot of them pride themselves on being protectors, but sometimes that protective nature is coming out of a hurt or wounded place. So now you're operating from a place of, I have to, not because I want to. You're operating from a place of, I was told, and this is what I knew to do all my life, so I'm just going to do it, although it doesn't really serve me, and I don't really address the things that I want to know about myself or what I want for myself. And there has to be a balance, right? If you're thinking about traditional roles in a relationship, most women do want to be protected, but they want to be protected from a person that has emotional intelligence. They want to be protected by a person who, a man who is in tune with his environment and what's going on, and how to better communicate his needs. Because if all that man knows how to do is just protect, but he doesn't know how to communicate. And when I say protect, it's not just physically protect. I need you to protect my energy. I need you to be there to protect my emotions. If something's wrong, I need you not to tell me to like, stop crying, you okay? I need you to dive deeper. If your only source of protection is I know how to keep you from getting shot or an attacker, it's not always going to be good enough. So in the scene where we're watching them fight and tussle and we're seeing Jodi's mom clearly caring, like, okay, her son is getting hurt. When it came down to it, Jodi's mom was like, just go. And she's talking to Jodi and telling Jodi to leave. And Jodi's hurt in that moment. You could see the hurt. You can see him thinking like, hold on. What happened to me? What about me? You're always choosing other people over me. You're choosing this man who's clearly disrespectful over me, and it hurts. As a man, it hurts. That creates another wound. Now him as, I think Jodi's supposed to be like, what, maybe like 18, 19, 20 in this scene. I have to go back and look. But he's not supposed to be like a adult, but emerging adult. And now it's a pattern, right? Because you're thinking like, when he was younger, Jodi's mom did this too, the same thing. And he would always have to step in to save her. So how are we going to heal these wounds? I'm a strong proponent of making sure you are checking in with your inner child. Your inner child is that one that got left behind. I talk about this a lot in my free program. It's a 4-week program. Depending on when you see this video, it starts October 28th, 2024. Where we're diving deep into your inner child wounds. We're diving deep into those stressors, those memories, those hurt unprocessed memories, or processed negative memories that we're reprocessing so that you can have healthier relationships, whether they be romantic or familial. We need to spend time with our inner child. We need to give that inner child a voice. That inner child needs to be mothered. If you are watching this before October 28th and you want to join, hopefully it's not too late because I unfortunately only had a few spots open, but go ahead and click the link below because I'm going to leave it below for you to check out. Join. If this sounds like you, if you see yourself, although it's just for women, but if you see yourself always having to protect your mother, or you're having these wounds where you're just like, me and my mother can never get on the same page. I feel like my mother hates me, even though I'm in her life. I'm going to bet that that part of you has not been parented and you had to parent yourself. And therefore that ideal of you're unworthy is stemming from that wound. Let's work through it. Join the group. But the first part in healing is just parenting and mothering that wounded part of you. You have to do it in a safe space as well, because if you're trying to parent that part of you that was wounded in an unsafe space, you're just going to further dig the wound. You're going to further make it problematic for you to be open and emotional and vulnerable for people. Another thing you should do is let go of the concept of who you were. That part of you who got hurt while your mother was badgering you, while your mother was beating you down emotionally, while your mother was disconnected from you. Let that go. Validate that part of you, but let it go. And start to really embrace that part of you who is new, that adult part of you who can also go back and parent that younger part of you that you're going to let go and burden, essentially. That's the term we use. You're going to let go and unburden that part of you. But now you're validating that the person you are today, that man you are today, that woman you are today is well deserving of where you've come or where you've landed, and nobody can take that away from you. So just giving that part of you some validation, some love, because my bet is that you've been shunning it away. You've been telling yourself, I don't deserve to be here. You've been shying away from opportunities that you should take or relationships you should be in because you don't feel worthy enough. One of the other things that you could possibly do is set boundaries with your mother. So if your mother is still in your life, very active in your life, and you're still around your family, but you're like, my family doesn't understand me. This wound I'm carrying around is so deep that whenever I just can't speak to my mom, or whenever I'm around her, I cringe. I'm going to challenge you to set boundaries, because chances are your mother is still operating out of the mindset that you're that 10-year-old boy or that 15-year-old girl, knowing well that you're probably 25 at this point and they're still treating you like a child. Set boundaries so that you no longer have to keep having that wound be dug deeper or even develop new wounds from your mom, because we are all people. We transition from time to time, and from those times we have needs in our lives, and those needs evolve. So I'm just going to challenge you to make some space for boundaries when you interact with your mother here on out, or you interact with that mother-like figure. Because remember now, your mother wounds don't necessarily have to be directly from your mother. Your mother wounds can be from a grandparent, a grandmother, a great grandmother, or anyone that served as a mother-like figure in your life. So maybe an aunt raised you, maybe a foster parent, a foster mom, an adopted mom. All these people are mother-like figures who can create mother wounds. I love this concept so much because when we talk about attachment trauma, remember, if y'all don't know what I'm talking about, check out one of my videos. I talk about attachment styles all the time. I talk about trauma all the time. I just want to make sure that you guys are understanding that this attachment trauma is based foundationally in how you grew up. And if you grew up in a tumultuous environment, or an environment just that did not foster openness or vulnerability for your emotions, you're going to start feeling these things like, I'm not worthy, I don't have anyone to talk to. You're going to develop an anxious attachment, or maybe even a disorganized attachment, which usually happens in trauma environments. And when we're thinking about this, and we're thinking about a mother wound, and perhaps a mother wound that comes from a mother who was an alcoholic, you might have this disorganized attachment where you're hot and cold. One day you're okay with being around people, the next day you're not. And when I say hot and cold, I mean hot and cold. I don't mean like, yeah, I had a bad day, I don't want to be around. But it's just like a switch goes on and off. And it happens all the time. That's why I think it's so important for you to understand your attachment styles and how you show up, and how to move from an insecure to a secure attachment style. This group that I have, again, it's free. It's worth it, because you're going to be amongst other women as well in a community where you can talk freely in a space safe to unburden and unpack and reprocess in a healthy way, so that you can be around your mom and not even recognize those wounds anymore because they're healing. So we talked so much about this mother wound and how it impacts your son and in mother relationships. And like I said, everybody has so much information on the mother-daughter relationship impact, but the mother-son relationship impact is so important, because us women, we're looking for men to marry, right? Well, I'm married, honey. But for those of you who are not, y'all are looking for men to marry. And if your potential mate or partner has this mother wound that hasn't been addressed, you might want to point it out to them, to say, look, I'm realizing all these things. And I'm not saying diagnose, because that's not your job, but we are our brother's keepers, right? So we are here to point something out if we see it. Just make sure the speck in your eye is no bigger than what you're pointing out. And that's on Bible, all right? You know what, too? I also created this video that pops up right here. Great episode. I want you to click it, because if you thought you gained some information from this episode right here, this one is even better. All right, y'all. Walk good, keep the vibes high, and I will see y'all next time.